I'm going to show you how to make a 30 bead ball, a dodecahedron. There is another kind of bead ball called an icosahedron. It also has 30 beads, but this is the dodecahedron, okay? It operates with rings of 5, 12 rings of 5 beads, okay? Now, I have made one here in size 8/0 metal beads. These are made in America, covered, they're brass, covered with enamel. Very nice. And I'm going to make one today. I'm going to demonstrate one using size 6/0 pink in these metal beads, these American-made metal beads. I want to tell you that. I love these beads, but in this size, the 6/0 size, I mean, maybe I got some bad batches here, but in my experience, they sometimes split at the seams, like at the worst possible moment after you're trying to, you've built the structure and then you're trying to reinforce the structure. So, test the beads. If you're planning to use these 6/0 metal beads, test them. Don't count on them until you've tested them, okay? You can use size 8/0 with no concerns at all right? Now, step 1 would be to count out 30 beads, exactly 30 beads, put them in a box. Keep a couple extra beads on the side in case some of these drop, all right? Everything starts with a ring of 5, okay? This particular ring of 5 represents row 1. There are 4 rows altogether in a 30 bead ball that's a dodecahedron. This is row 1. These here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 samples represent row 2. We're going to build row 1 first and then build row 2 onto it. It's super fast and super easy. What does take some time is the reinforcing, okay? So I'm going to build 1 ring of 5 beads. Doesn't really matter how you secure your ring of 5 beads. Because the holes in these particular beads are really large, you're free to knot the thread if you want to. Sometimes we avoid knotting because it clogs bead holes, but these holes are so big that I mean, it would take a lot to clog them. So I'm knotting here, okay? Great. Next step is to reinforce this ring of 5 beads. Nothing fancy here. We're just going to stitch around and around the beads in this ring. Then at a certain point, we'll cut off the tail or zap off the tail, whatever. Okay, I'm using a size 10 needle, and I'm still using I have tons of this old Coats & Clark's hand quilting thread left over, which I've loved for years, and I am going to use it here because I want to use it up. Otherwise, I'm really loving 4-pound test in the fire line, and I would be using that if I weren't trying to use up old thread. All right. So, I mean, that's probably enough, right? Reinforcing. So I'm going to snip the thread, the tail thread here. So we've got row 1 finished. That was really fast. I'm going to suggest, you probably already know this, always work in one direction, right? So you're going to bead either from left to right, which is it's a clockwise direction, or you're going to flip it around and bead right to left, which is a counterclockwise direction, okay? For me, I'm right-handed. I like to bead in a clockwise direction. So I'm always going to want my thread going to the left. It does make things easier in later rows. Okay, we finished this guy. Let's set these guys aside here. This is what we're working on now. We're going to add 1 more ring, excuse me, of 5 beads. They're going to be connected by this middle bead right here, okay? Come out of any bead, it doesn't matter which bead, in your first ring of 5, and then add 4 beads. Why only 4? Because one of the beads in this second ring of 5 is already in place. That's this one. Go back through the bead you just came out of and pull. Check to make sure just for a second. Do you really have 2 rings of 5 beads here, or has something gone wrong? No, we do. That's great. Let's reinforce this ring we just added, once or twice, so that as we're working, the rings stay in place instead of coming loose. All right, so we reinforced it once. Now let's quickly reinforce it again. And this is one of the easiest bead balls you could learn to make. You will love it. It's so easy. Now we want to add a third ring. We're done with this guy. We're going on to this guy here. We want to add a third ring, okay? As we said, this is row 1. This is the first ring in row 2, and this is the second ring in row 2. That's what we're adding now. So let's pretend that we're always going to keep this ring right here on our left, and we're always going to know that this is ring 1 of row 1 because it helps orient us. Go through the next bead in ring 1, row 1, and pull. Now, we can see that 2 beads are already in place for the third ring of 5 beads. That's this one and this one. So we just have to add 3 beads. I almost said 5 again. 3 beads. Now, when you're not sure which bead you should go through, anytime you're making one of these bead polyhedra, you can play the game Ask the Beads, which I invented like I don't know how many years ago. Bend the thread around to where you think you can create a ring of 5 beads and look to see what bead should you go through to create this next ring. Well, go through this bead. We just figured that out. The beads do not lie. Then go through that bead there. Do what's natural to create rings of 5, okay, while intersecting all of the rings. Let's reinforce that ring just a little so it stays in place. Okay, that's good. And if this is the first ring in row 1, we know that we have to go through the next bead in that ring, which is this bead here, and pull. Now we're done with this one. We're heading towards this one. We want to add the next ring in row 2. There's different ways to do that. Just trying to think. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Okay, 2 of the beads are in place. 1, 2. So how many should we add? We should add 3. Now let's go through this bead here and this bead here. See how we're always connecting 2 rings of 5 by creating another ring of 5? Great. All right, we could go around this one once, reinforce it. Okay, and we're already at the 4th ring in row 2, okay? So to get into position to add that ring, we already know we need to go through one of the beads in the original ring of 5 in row 1. And we know that 2 of the beads are in place for the next ring. That's this one and this one. So let's add 3 beads. We're going to go through this bead and this bead and pull. All right, beautiful. Check to see that what you have is all rings of 5. Once in a while I make a ring of 6. I don't know how it happens. I don't figure it out till very late in the structure. Then I have to go back and do like damage control. Okay, so we're going to make this next by adding the 5th ring in row 2. Now we know that 3 of the beads are in place already for this next ring. 1, 2, 3. But the thread isn't in the right place. The needle isn't in the right place. So to be consistent with working in a clockwise direction, which is to the left, I'm going to go through these 2 beads here and pull. Now I only have to add 2 beads. And to form a ring of 5, I'm going to go through this bead, and this bead, and pull. Okay, so rows 1 and 2 are already done. I guess I will reinforce this last ring just a little. I would say always when you get to the point where you've finished row 2, definitely do a little extra reinforcing to make it easier to add rows 3 and 4. So I don't have any, systematic direction here, no systematic plan. I'm just gonna, reinforce here and there, sort of spot reinforce until I feel like we can add the next 2 rows easily. Okay, that's good. Now I'd like you to notice something, and these concepts I'm teaching you now apply to many, many bead polyhedron, not just this 30 bead ball, okay? Look at these 5 pairs of beads here around the perimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? They're really closely spaced. They're touching each other, and that's why I'm calling them close pairs, okay? There are 5 of them. Now, there's a concept called splitting a pair. I'm going to show you what that means. I think I invented it, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure other people have thought of it. One way to split a pair is to insert your needle up through one of the beads in the pair. Another way to split a pair is to insert your needle down through one of the beads in the pair, okay? That's splitting pairs. Now, there's another concept I want to teach you, which is called creating pairs, okay? Creating pairs is when you put your needle through one bead that's sitting really, really far away from this other bead to the left, and you're going to be connecting them. You're going to be turning them into a pair, okay? So that's creating a pair of beads. We have splitting and we have creating, all right? Now, as we build row 3, we will be building row 4. At the end, all we have to do is stitch around the beads that belong to row 4 because they'll already be in place, okay? Thus far, we have added 20 beads altogether. So this is rows 1 and 2, it equals 20 beads. In rows 3 and 4, we're just going to be adding 10 beads, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I got 10 in there. It's always good to count, make sure that you really do only have 10 beads here when you get to this step. Okay, so total 30 bead sphere. To get started creating row 3, insert your needle up through one bead in this pair. Any pair, doesn't matter which pair. Okay, now 2 beads are in place for the next ring. That's this one and this one. So we're going to be creating a pair, so to speak. Let's string 3 beads because 2 are in place. We only need 3. All right, and then we're going to create a pair by going through this bead that sits far apart from this bead, but it's now going to sit closer together. Okay, so that is ring 1 of row 3 added. Now let's stitch through this bead here and this bead here and pull, and then we're in position to add the second ring in row 3. 3 beads are in place. 1, 2, 3. So we only have to add 2. And we're going to add right here. Now we're creating what you could call a trio, a triplet. Okay, pull. Now get into place to create ring 3 of row 3 by stitching those beads. See, 3 of the beads are already in place for this next ring. That's this one, and this one here. When in doubt, always look for where are you splitting a pair. That will kind of guide you as to where you should be. Okay. Now let's insert the needle through this pair, split this pair here, go through the middle bead, and split this pair here, and pull. Okay, we've got 3 rings in place. Only 3 beads are left in the box. What that tells you is that you have now reached ring 4 of row 3, and that there's hardly anything left to do. 2 of these beads will be devoted to ring 4, and this next one will show you what it does. Whoops, it's a really powerful bead in just a minute. To get into position to create ring 4, go through this bead and pull. 3 of the beads are already in place for this ring. That's this one, and this one. So we're only going to string 2 beads. All right, let's go through this bead here. We are splitting a pair. Go through this bead here, and then this bead here to create the next ring of 5. All right. If you feel you've lost your place, just undo until you go back to where you knew you were, okay? Once you learn this structure, you'll never lose your place. It's so easy. Now at this point, I want to show you an important pattern to look for, which tells you that there's only 1 bead left. It tells you where you are, okay? Here is one pair of beads here. They're closely spaced. They're close pairs. This is one close pair. Here's another close pair. And here's a wide apart pair right here. Another wide apart pair. Come on, guy. Down there. Another wide apart pair right here. When you see this pattern, you know you only have one bead left to add. Where do you think you're going to add it? Right, you're going to add it to split two pairs. It's going to sit right in the middle between these two split pairs. So we have to get in position to do that, okay? You can split from either pair. You can work your needle into either pair. It doesn't matter. I'm choosing this one. I'm going up through this bead here. Just one. I'm splitting a pair, a close pair, and I'm pulling. And then I'm going to add the only bead that's left here. That's this one. And it's going to sit right here. As we said, it's going to split two pairs. So it can go, we'll put the needle down through this one to form another perfect ring of 5 beads. Actually, as we add this last bead, we're forming 2 rings of 5 beads. One here and one here. Now all the beads are in place, so all we have to do is stitch. Okay? Stitch around to close up the rings. And then after we do that, what's left is reinforcing. Reinforcing can go really fast if your bead holes are kind of small, or it can take a bit longer if your bead holes are large, like these are. But this is the kind of thing you can do while you're, you know, sitting watching TV or a movie or something. You can make all your structures during the day and then sit and watch a movie later on while you reinforce them. Okay, see how fast it is to make the initial structure. I'm not going to reinforce the whole thing here because you get the idea. Here's an example of one in size 8/0 beads that I have fully reinforced. It's really tight. You can't even really dent it. And this in size 6/0 beads, we've got a long way to go to finish reinforcing it. Okay, but I mean, it's not hard. That's the easiest thing of all. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Please subscribe. Thanks.